Hi, I'm Stacey. Welcome to my old Kentucky home. Well, there is perhaps no bigger tradition associated with Kentucky than the Kentucky Derby, and probably no bigger tradition associated with the Derby than the toasting with the mint julep. Well, maybe singing my old Kentucky home. Well, even though the official cocktail of Louisville is the old-fashioned, the mint julep is celebrated by Louisvillians the entire month of April in the lead-up to the Kentucky Derby in May. Well, the mint julep has long been associated with the Kentucky Derby. In fact, in the 1930s, it was named its official cocktail. Now, Louisvillians take the entire month of April to celebrate all things mint julep. You'll see bakeries making gelatos, creme brulees, mint julep cupcakes. So today, we're gonna make our version of a mint julep bundt cake. For our mint julep bundt cake, we'll need a box cake mix, water, oil, Kentucky bourbon, eggs, and for the glaze, powdered sugar, cocoa powder, and simple syrup. So for our bundt cake, it's two simple steps. We're gonna first make the bundt cake, and then separately we'll make the chocolate mint glaze. For the bundt cake, you can use any yellow box cake mix. You can also make it from scratch. We're using my dad's rum cake recipe, so he always used a box cake. We're just gonna swap out the rum for the bourbon. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why I chose this particular cake mix in a minute. So we've got our cake mix. I'm gonna add that. And again, you're welcome to make it from scratch. You know, when you add such good Kentucky bourbon, I think it makes the box cake mix taste just fine. We're gonna add, you're just gonna basically follow the instructions on the back of the box, which called for 1/3 cup of oil. It also called for 1 cup of water. So in this case, this is just 3/4 a cup of water, and we substituted 1/4 a cup of Kentucky bourbon into that. So to make 1 full cup of the liquids. And then 3 eggs. And let me tell you a little bit more about why I chose Duncan Hines. He was a Kentuckian. He was from Bowling Green. We're in the late 1880s, and by the 1930s, he was a traveling salesman. He traveled all across the United States, and this was before a lot of restaurants even existed, but he would find a local restaurant in the cities he visited, write a review. People began to trust his reviews so much, he put them together in a collection in the 1930s and became regionally famous. Well, then he was so famous, he sold his name to many companies, including baked goods, and this particular one bought his name, and now you can find his cake mixes all across the country, and there's even a museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky that celebrates his work. Well, we have our ingredients, and we just need to mix them for about 2 minutes on medium speed. Okay, this is mixed. Come off of there. And I have prepared my bundt pan, the little cooking spray. And we're just gonna pour this in. And I've got the oven set to 325. And because I'm using a darker bundt cake pan, we're gonna cook it, so it's about 35 minutes. It said add an extra 5 minutes for a dark pan, so somewhere in the 35 to 40 minute mark, we're gonna cook this just until it's finished. So the oven's been on, clean that up. Really smell that bourbon. We're gonna put it in the oven. All right, we're gonna time that, I said, for about 35 to 40 minutes. So while that's cooking, we're gonna start on our glaze, but we're gonna go visit Jessica and learn more about the mint julep.
Since we're in the Derby spirit, I'm gonna teach you how to make the Kentucky Derby's official cocktail, which is the mint julep. It's a really easy cocktail. All you need is some mint-infused simple syrup, crushed ice, and bourbon. All right, you're gonna want to pack your julep cup, and this is a traditional julep cup. You usually use pewter or sterling silver. You're gonna wanna get it pretty full of the ice. This is really supposed to be kind of a daytime cocktail, so you're not trying to make anything too strong. You want it to be refreshing and cold. So let's see, I've got my ice packed in there. All right, so I'm going to strain out the simple syrup mint mixture so that I'm only getting the syrup part and we'll add fresh mint as the garnish. And I'm gonna do 1 ounce of that. And then 2 ounces of Old Grandad. All right, and then the last thing we're gonna do is garnish with a mint. And this is a very important step. What you need to do is spank the mint like this. And what that does is it releases the essential oils in the mint, so it makes it really fragrant. So when you've got that sticking out of your cocktail here, when you lift it up to your mouth, you're gonna be able to really smell the mint. It's very pretty and festive. Cheers.
Now we're going to make our chocolate mint glaze. We have a half a cup of powdered sugar and the 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. And then this is mint infused simple syrup. We borrowed some that Jessica just made up. I'm just gonna pour that right in there. Basically, it's a dump and mix. And sometimes this can be not quite exact. You just need to mix it to the consistency which you are comfortable with drizzling over this bundt cake. So if it gets too thin, add more simple syrup, or you can even add some bourbon to it, which we might do if ours looks like it's a little thick. And then if it's too thin, of course, you can add more powdered sugar. So I think I'm gonna kind of go off the board here and add a little of this Woodford to thin it out. Again, you can also just add more simple syrup. Now that smells really good. Okay, so this is more, you can see on the sides of the bowl, that's a little more drizzling consistency. Okay, I'm going to need to let this cool. So I'm just gonna go on and put it on the cake stand. Perfect, but we're gonna let this cool down a little bit before we apply the glaze. So our bourbon bundt cake has cooled, and now we're gonna take our chocolate mint, and we added bourbon to it, glaze, and just sort of lightly drizzle it over the top. I'm going to save a little bit for individual pieces. Also something I like to do, and I'll do it for the individual pieces too, but show it to you now, is my aunt, who I think makes, I was gonna say the best mint juleps. I haven't tasted Jessica's yet, so we'll see. But one of the things that she does is tops hers with powdered sugar dusting. She has a little cool little tool to do it that she sets outside the make your own mint julep bar, but we're gonna do it just through a strainer. And so this will just kind of emulate the classic mint julep. So after your little dusting of powdered sugar, you can slice these individually and add more glaze and powdered sugar and individual pieces of the mint leaves. Or if you want to serve it this way on your buffet and have people cut it later, I like to just take my mint and bunch it up in the center and make a really pretty display. So here it is, your classic mint julep bundt cake. So if you don't get a chance to go to the Kentucky Derby, you can always have a party at home. And these 2 iconic recipes will get you started to be a great Derby party host.
And for even more Louisville-inspired recipes, visit us at culinarylouisville.com, and we'll see you here next time on Bourbon
and Biscuits.
Cheers!